On this edition of the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford.
Everything starts at the line of scrimmage, controlling the running game for the most part, and trying to make the quarterback one-dimensional.
A punt return touchdown, your chances of winning, if you have a big play on special teams, goes through the roof.
One thing we know about Pugh, you'll get maximum effort. In the 5 games since he came off the couch to play for the Giants, he only missed 1 snap.
When you look at Terry McLaurin, it's not just his speed and his route running, but his football IQ.
For some reason, Saquon, 2'6", always plays well against him. Let him tote the rock. Give him 30-plus, please.
Welcome to another edition of the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford. The Giants are in Washington to take on the Commanders. I'm Bob Popple, along with 2-time Super Bowl champion Carl Banks and the head coach of the New York Giants, Brian Daboll. And Coach, obviously the game on Sunday against Dallas, a lot of things didn't go the way you wanted to. What do you do mentally to get this team refocused to play another division game on the road?
Yeah, that's just it. You're playing another division game on the road, so you have to turn the page quickly and learn from some of the things that we could all have done a better job of from that game, and move on to another challenging opponent that we just played a few weeks ago.
Coach, obviously Tommy DeVito gets his first ever start. Tough environment with, obviously it's a team game, so there's breakdowns across the board. How would you say he handled it, all things considered?
Yeah, I thought he prepared well, and again, this was his first game starting a tough environment, a tough opponent. Did some good things, and then some stuff that we'll definitely work on this week leading up to this game. Yeah,
and obviously, too, his first 2 possessions started inside the 5-yard line, so it's a little tough to be creative with it, right?
Yeah, those were not ideal circumstances for his first few plays as a starter in the National Football League.
Coach, Saquon Barkley stayed in the game, and it looked like he was just trying to lead by example. Wouldn't come out. It looks like he just wanted to just keep pounding and try to give the team a chance. What does that say about the leadership of, game is out of control, but he's in there giving everything?
Yeah, tough competitor. A good leader for us. Wants to do anything he can do to help the team win. And, and not only does he lead by example, but he also leads with, his words and his actions on the sideline.
Obviously, Coach, this week you're playing Washington. You played them a couple weeks ago, beat them in a tough game at MetLife Stadium. You know that these games are always tough. Every game you play against them, whether it was last year, this year, and probably 10 years ago, they kind of play out the same way. What are some of the important things as far as attention to detail to make sure that you give yourself an opportunity to win a game like this late?
Yeah, it starts with ball security offensively and taking away the ball defensively, controlling the line of scrimmage, playing good in the kicking game, controlling the field position in the punt return game, and then just making sure that we're all doing our job. Each person is doing their job and can count on the person next to him to do his.
Brian Robinson has been a really good runner. This past weekend, he was a key factor in the passing game too. Is it a matter of saying, let's control the line of scrimmage and make sure that we don't allow both phases to impact the game?
Yeah, it usually starts with taking care of the running game and try to make it a one-dimensional game. And obviously, Brian's a good football player. He does a good job when you hand it to him, and I also know he can do it with the ball in his hands in the passing game as well. But everything starts at the line of scrimmage, controlling the running game for the most part, and trying to make the quarterback one-dimensional.
And Coach, even though they've traded away 2 of their better pass rushers against Seattle, they find different ways to manufacture pressure on the quarterback, and they still have those 2 stud defensive tackles, first-round picks in there who are a handful, aren't they?
Yeah, both those guys, Alabama guys, I'd say Payne and Allen are both, they can do a lot inside. They have good quickness, they have good power, they're smart football players, they do a good job against the run, a good job on the pass. 2 mainstays for their defense.
Final question, Terry McLaurin, there's a lot of great receivers. You see him every week in the league. Maybe because they haven't had team success, he doesn't get the recognition that others get. But would you say he's up there with some of the best in the league?
Yeah, absolutely. Tremendous player, tremendous person. Had an opportunity to meet him at Ohio State on a visit. Really blew us away in terms of his professionalism and what the game of football meant to him and how he was as a person. And then you see him, evolve and grow each year as he's played in the National Football League, and he's a dynamic receiver and a guy that we're going to have to be aware of.
Coach, we appreciate a couple minutes. Best of luck on Sunday.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That's the head coach of the New York Football Giants, Brian Daboll, taking a couple minutes to join us. The Giants take on the Commanders in Washington. When we come back on the program, we will have Paul Dottino and Sean O'Hara. All that and more here on the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford.
What's up, everybody? It's Barkley, running back of the New York Giants, and I'm here with my good friends of Covenant House, New Jersey, and I have some amazing news. It's going to be my 5th year of being the chairman of the Sleep Out Executive Edition, and this year is going to be at MetLife Stadium, December 7th, and I would love for you guys to show love and support. Much love.
Welcome back to the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford. It's the Giants and Commanders in Washington on Sunday. Time for head-to-head. Here's Paul Dottino and Sean O'Hara.
Okay, so let's go head-to-head for the Giants and Commanders coming up on Sunday. Sean, first up, we got a really good matchup here. Jonathan Allen against Justin Pugh. Now, Allen, who has the 4 sacks on the season, that is 9th among NFL defensive tackles this year. But here's the key about him. He's come off 2 straight All-Pro years. We all know how dominant he can be. Pugh knows he's got a big task ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, strength, pad level, physicality. He's been doing it at a high level for such a long time. Nothing but respect for him. He's a leader of that defense. They go as he goes. So it's a challenge for us this week.
How much more difficult or maybe easier will it be now that they've gotten rid of some of their edge rushers and people can more concentrate on their defensive tackles?
Yeah, obviously it impacts the game, but they're still going to do things to get him singled up, get him one-on-one, create matchups for him. So when you get singled up, you got to do your job. You got to go out there, put hands on him, block him. He's a great player. He's going to make plays, but he's got to limit those plays.
Well, I know Justin Pugh likes a challenge, and this is a challenge like he has faced a lot this season, because it's not just about, all right, am I going against Jonathan Allen? For Justin Pugh, it's you always have to be ready. You never know at any point in the game if you have to switch positions. So Justin's been extremely versatile, and I think this is a good matchup for him because Jonathan Allen, he's really quick. He's really quick off the ball, and I think that's one of Justin Pugh's best assets is he's very quick with his feet, very quick with his hands. I think Jonathan Allen, when you go back and look at the Week 7 matchup, Paul, really 2 big splash plays for him. He had 1 quarterback pressure, and really he did a great job against the run. He beat the center, Ben Brederson, on a quick little move. So he is very quick at moving from A-gap to A-gap or B-gap to A-gap. The D-line stunts are something that I know Justin and the rest of the Giants offensive line are going to really have to handle. That's the toughest thing to do. And last week, saw the Dallas Cowboys do a lot of line stunts, and that really gives the offensive line fits when they're moving like that. Makes it tough to stay on your combination block. So this matchup right here, look, it's always a battle of the trenches whenever you're playing the Washington Commanders. And of course, Jonathan Allen does not have Montez Sweat and no Chase Young. So you know he's going to be thinking there's a lot more pressure on him. For Justin Pugh, this has to be a run-first game. You want to get Justin Pugh leaning on Jonathan Allen. Get him running the ball road grader style, not in pass protection style. That's not leaning towards Justin's strengths right here. But this should be a good matchup, Jay versus Jay right here.
Yeah, one thing we know about Pugh, you'll get maximum effort in the 5 games since he came off the couch to play for the Giants. 100%. He only missed 1 snap.
Yeah, look at that.
And that was against Dallas last week.
Yeah, he's got fresh legs. Who needs training camp, right, Justin?
Let's go to our second head-to-head matchup. And we're going to go with Brian Robinson against Micah McFadden. Now, Robinson has been a really good running back for a couple of years with Washington, but now he's added the passing game to his repertoire. Yeah. What you don't see here is that he's had 20 catches on the season, and he leads NFL running backs with an average of over 12.5 yards a catch. He also has 3 touchdown catches, which is tied for 2nd among NFL running backs in the league. So, Micah McFadden, you have a very tall order ahead of you.
You know, as linebackers, we got to be on top of that, and not only in man coverage, but also check down when we're in zone and being aware of that. And then, of course, the screen game as well. They've definitely upped that a lot since we played them. So, just got to be locked in.
every quarterback has a bailout guy that he looks for when he's in trouble. Does it look like Robinson is Howell's bailout guy, or is he just a regular part of the schematics of the offense and part of the progressions?
Yeah, I mean, I think they use him in a lot of different ways. He can be, depending on the situation, but I think they've kind of used everybody they got in different ways now. And like I said, the screen game has definitely came up and using multiple guys in that facet. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely a great player, and like you said, they've used him in the pass game a little bit more. So definitely got to be on top of that and aware of it.
Boy, Micah McFadden has been all-world for the Giants this season. He's been all over the field, whether he's attacking running backs like a heat-seeking missile or whether he's out-covering running backs and tight ends in coverage. Paul, you mentioned in this matchup right here, Brian Robinson versus Micah McFadden. And the one wrinkle with all this stuff with Brian Robinson is coming out of college, everybody said he can't catch. Like out of the backfield, he doesn't have good hands, not a good receiver. To your point, he's been phenomenal. And you go back, you look at that big play from him last week against Seattle, 51-yard scamper. Basically, he just kind of ran up the sideline, and Sam Howell bought a little time, plopped the ball right over there. So that is one thing that I think really makes this matchup intriguing, because guess who one of the best cover linebackers in the league right now is? It's Micah McFadden. Micah McFadden has been playing at an elite level in the passing game. And there you see his stats right there to go along with his 9 tackles for a loss. He has 5 quarterback hits. So he's doing a really good job, whether he's not in coverage, of impacting the quarterback. You go back to the Raiders game, Paul. He made a really nice play. There was only one quarterback pressure really in the game, and it was Micah McFadden beating Josh Jacobs on a little cut block, kind of avoiding him to the side and getting a little pressure on the quarterback. So I think for him, Brian Robinson coming off of a huge game against Seattle, 157 total yards, the biggest thing that he has done a great job of is making guys miss. He had 8 forced missed tackles last week alone. So for Micah McFadden, not just, finding the running back, getting to him, but taking him down is not easy. He's a very powerful runner. Micah McFadden, no doubt, is up for the challenge. He might be the defensive MVP right now for the Giants this season.
Yeah, right now he's 3rd on the Giants in tackles and twice has put up double-digit tackle games so far this season. Well, that'll do it for head-to-head this week. Now let's go back to Bob.
Carl, obviously Washington, since the last time the Giants played them, traded away their 2 best outside rushers, but they still have 2 stud defensive tackles on the inside. The Giants are going to have to be much stronger inside than they were last week against Dallas.
Well, the key here for Washington, it's always been those 2 inside guys, which made the edge rushers so effective because they can push the pocket. And, the Giants' struggles interior are well documented. So they are going to go against Washington's best strength of their defense. So they will have to be better.
Then on the other side of the ball, they're feeding Brian Robinson the ball. But last week in the game against Seattle, they used him in the passing game, and he had a 51-yard catch and run for a touchdown. So not only do you have to worry about Antonio Gibson in the pass game, but Robinson shows that he can run it or catch it.
Well, Bob, I think this defense has to focus on stopping the run first. Robinson's a big downhill runner, and he sets up the play-action pass for this offense. And if he gets going, then that opens up everything. And with a guy like McCurlin there, you don't want to have that to worry about.
Yeah, and Robinson had over 100 yards receiving last week against Seattle. When we come back, over, under, and much more here on the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford. Welcome back to the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford. Time for Over Under with Madeline Burke, Amani Toomer, and Sean O'Hara.
Thanks so much. Time now for a Week 11 Over Under. Madeline Burke, Sean O'Hara, and Amani Toomer. You guys know the rules. I'll throw out a stat, and you'll say if we think we're going to go over or under when the Giants take on the Commanders at Washington Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Let's do it.
Starting, of course, Sean, with the pressures. Over under 3.5 sacks for this Giants defense.
Yeah, Madeline, I'm going to go over on this one. 3.5 sacks. I think the Giants, they need to establish this pass rush. It has not been as effective as they would like, and what better time than right now against Sam Howell, who's leading the league in passing yards. So that means they're throwing the ball a lot. I think that this is a great opportunity for not just the defensive line to get pressure. We always just think of D linemen when we think sacks. But for some of those blitzes to get home, Mike McFadden's having a phenomenal season. I wouldn't be shocked to see him get a little sack, get a little pressure on Sam Howell, try to make him uncomfortable in that pocket.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go over as well, just because Sam Howell is a very sackable quarterback. He leads the league in passing, but what he does do when he is going back to pass, he holds the ball a lot.
Yeah.
And he throws the ball up for turnovers. So I feel like there's an opportunity for this Giants defense and for Wink Martindale to get after him in that pocket. So I'm going to go over on the 3.5.
I'm going to take the over as well. I mean, I want to agree with you guys there. The Giants didn't have a sack last week. The last 2 weeks, they've been a little bit dry in that category. But the last time these two teams faced each other just 4 weeks ago, the Giants had 6 of them. So I see this defense getting home at the
especially
quarterback.
Dexter Lawrence. He had a monster game.
He did.
Do
he
it
did.
again,
We'll be seeing this a little bit.
there it
I
is.
can't not. I
You did
can't
the
not. I
forbidden
did
dance.
a
That's
little.
the forbidden dance.
It's a little subtle.
A little
version.
lambada
We'll
right
take
there.
it. Right now, we can use any of that.
We definitely want to see it. All right, Amani. Over under 25 rushing attempts by Saquon Barkley.
Oh, I hope it's going to go over. I think it's going to go under, because when you look at the way the Washington Commanders are going to approach the Giants, they're definitely going to go after Saquon Barkley. I feel he's going to be used more as a decoy and allow some other players to kind of make their presence known on this offense. So I'm going to go under.
You know, Amani, we would sit here on the post-game show in this exact same spot where we're talking about give Saquon more carries, give him. So I'm taking the over on this all day long. There's no reason for him to not have at least 25 carries in this game. Tommy DeVito making his second start at Washington. Also, Saquon has always had the Commanders' number. Some of his biggest games have been against Washington. I think he set the franchise record for yards against Washington. So for some reason, Saquon, 2.6, always plays well against them. Let him tote the rock. Give him 30+, please.
Absolutely. And we want to see him. Like you said, we've been mentioning it for the last few weeks. Give him the ball more. I'm taking the over as well. Even though he only had 13 carries last week, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
That means
bump
that means he's got
number
fresh legs.
up. Exactly. Fresh legs indeed. All right, finally, Sean, over under 2 takeaways for this Giants defense.
You know, give me the over on this one, too. The Giants only have 10 takeaways on the entire season, but I think that they get one of each. They get an interception and a fumble, and I'm going to say special teams shows up. I think special teams makes a play. You know, down there in Washington, strange things seem to happen on that field all the time. That grass gets a little bit slick sometimes this time of year. Something good could happen. So I'll take the over on this one. Special teams, come on, you got to come through. Make me look good.
I want to go over, but the last couple of weeks, the Giants haven't been as turnover happy as and getting them as they had been earlier in this year, or even more specifically last year. So this is an area of the game that the Giants defense, usually with pressure, creates these turnovers. It hasn't really been that way this year. So I'm going to go under, just going off of the history of this Giants team.
Oh, I'm going to take the over here. I got to go over just because, you know, the Giants had 2 takeaways last week. They have gotten so much better in that category in recent weeks. And the way that we mentioned, Sam Howell airs it out. There's just so many more opportunities for that to happen, especially with those young DBs. So I'm taking the over on this one. But we'll see how it all goes down Sunday at Washington. I'm feeling good about our picks. What about you guys?
I'm the Grinch now. I'm the Grinch. I'm the Grinch.
No.
You know, we can't
Somebody's
always
gotta be the heel.
simpatico. Somebody's got to be the heel indeed. All right, that's a wrap for Week 11 over under, brought to you by the New York Lottery. Back to you.
Carl, the one thing that Sam Howell has shown this year is he can be sacked. The Giants did it when they beat him a couple of weeks ago. Obviously a little banged up on the defensive side of the ball, but the Giants have to find creative ways to get pressure, don't they?
They do, Bob. And listen, this team has just come off of one of its worst performances. They've got to regroup, and they've got to find a way to get some pressure on the quarterback and play a more complete game. They just didn't have success at anything last week against Dallas.
Yeah, 4 times this year the Giants have actually won the takeaway battle, but they've lost all 4 of those games, despite the fact being +8. When they do get a takeaway, then it's coupled with the offense has to make the other team pay for it for sure.
Sure, and then the other part of it too, Bob, is the chunk plays. They're giving up chunk plays in the run and in the pass game. Not just one a game, but 3 or 4 of those, and that can happen.
Yeah, the Giants have given up more pass plays of 30 or more yards this year than they did all of last year. When we come back, we'll go to the coach's tape, Carl Banks with strategy, and much more here on the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford. Welcome back to the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford. Giants in Washington this Sunday with the Giants on the road. Time for strategy with Carl Banks. And Carl, you know, they've got 2 running backs that can run it, they can catch it. They've got a lot of weapons, but it all starts with Terry McLaurin, one of the best and maybe one of the more underrated wide receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, Bob, when you look at Terry McLaurin, it's not just his speed and his route running, but his football IQ. And they're going to do a concept here, and I'll just let this run a bit, but they'll run a concept here and create natural openings, but McLaurin just knows where to sit down in the window. But the concept here, if you take a look, they put what we call 4 strong. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's designed to get a linebacker or a corner out of an area so that they create a window here or a window here. And you'll just take a look. As it goes, back comes out, this guy comes up, this guy goes here, and there's the window. So the 4 strong, you really have to match it up, and you can't turn anyone loose. McLaurin just sits right down in there, makes the play.
Yeah, and Darius Slay has to give McLaurin cushion because McLaurin can run by him.
Yeah.
So it all automatically opens up everything.
And then here he is again, a very good route runner, just runs a little 7 route. Sam Howell puts it right on him. He catches it right at the sideline.
Can we go back to that for a second?
Sure.
Just in the sense of, I guess, even though we're focused on McLaurin, but Howell, in his first full year as a starting quarterback, Carl, I mean, there's pressure coming in off the inside. And not only does he deliver touch, but he delivers accuracy with a dude barreling down right in his face.
Absolutely.
He definitely has shown a lot of fearless traits.
Well, there he is. Someone's right there at him. Great anticipation on the throw here because McLaurin's not exactly open, but that ball will come down and give McLaurin a chance to get to it.
Yeah, and he throws it to a spot where either McLaurin's going to make the catch
or no one,
or it's incomplete pass. All right, let's go to the other side of the ball here, Carl, and we take a look at Washington defensively. Now, Montez Sweat was traded away, and obviously they traded away Chase Young. They got 11 sacks got traded away. So they're leaning a little bit more on their secondary, and Carl, it's a good group that plays collectively.
Yeah, they play collectively, and here you have your corner given a lot of cushion because he doesn't want Diggs to run by him, but he's in a position because Diggs is such a great route runner. He's going to get run off, but he knows he has to break back on the football. And just look, he reads it, boom, he gets his feet set, runs back, breaks up the ball. So they are very well coached in terms of what to expect in terms of their scouting, but then knowing how to react to certain plays. And then here's another one. Atlanta's going to the quick game, corner sits, pick. Again, they know how to anticipate as a defense here. Again, corner's just sitting, he's playing outside, and he's got vision on all of this right here. So what he does, he just sits, lets it unsort, comes right away, makes the play.
And Fuller has been a very good player in the National Football League for quite some time. Both he and his brother are outstanding corners, and that's a look at the anticipation that they need to have as far as Washington and what they want to do to you defensively. We're going to take a timeout. When we come back on the program, it's time for Above the Numbers. All that and more here on the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford. Welcome back to the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford. Giants and Commanders in Washington. It is time for Above the Numbers with Paul Dottino and Amani Toomer.
Okay, so let's go above the numbers for the Giants and Commanders this Sunday afternoon. Amani, who's up first?
Oh, my guy is Gunnar Olszewski. This is a guy who we just acquired about a month ago. Great punt returner, almost 10 yards per return. What that means is every time he gets the ball, it's pretty much a first down, which shortens the field. But what we need is a big play. If this team is struggling the way it is on offense, on defense, you need something out of the ordinary to change around the momentum. A punt return touchdown makes the numbers of victory, your statistics, your chances of winning, if you have a big play on special teams, goes through the roof. I think it's around 80%. That's what Tom Coughlin used to always tell us. So this is a guy that has an opportunity to change the game solely by just doing what he's done Now he has to go above the numbers to give this Giants team, who's struggling to score points, an opportunity to get in the game and get the momentum going.
Yeah, the Giants got him after Pittsburgh had cut him. He had previously been with the Patriots for his career, averaging over 11.5 yards per punt return, to your point. Now, the Giants need to do this well with Olszewski because Washington has been outstanding at punt return coverage. Over their last 6 games, they have not allowed more than 25 total punt return yards in a single weekend. And during that time period are only allowing 5.5 yards per punt return. So he really needs to get it going this Sunday.
Absolutely.
All right, my guy.
Who's your guy?
Boogie Basham. Now, this is going to, how can you not? Now, the Giants got him from Buffalo right before the season. He was a defensive lineman for them. The Giants converted him to outside linebacker, Amani. They made him a strong side backer, and he's been playing behind Heidi Ward. But the last couple of weeks now, his snap counts have increased dramatically. Against Dallas the other day, he played over half the snaps and had 3 tackles. He was active. Against Washington, which has a running game with Brian Robinson and is particularly good in the red zone, where they score touchdowns on 58% of the time, which is 11th in the National Football League, he can be very important down deep in that red zone, especially in the goal line defense. So we'll see if Boogie Basham can help keep Washington from crossing the goal line this week.
Absolutely. We need another big body down there. And we know that Sam position isn't really a glory position in terms of making tackles and stuff. So for him to be productive and playing more, it gives an opportunity for another young player to prove what he can do, especially in the red zone like you're talking about.
Okay, let's see who's below the numbers.
Here we go. Ooh, Curtis Samuels. He is a big play waiting to happen. The versatility, the speed. Man, this guy can change a game, can be a game wrecker, absolutely.
He's been battling a toe injury for the last month, and that's kind of hurt his productivity. But remember, when the Giants played Washington earlier this year in Week 7, he was held to 4 catches for 25 yards, after in the previous 3 weeks, he had scored a touchdown in each one of those games. So he was getting hot, and then the Giants cooled him off. And, you know, the one thing you also have to remember about him, they love to use him on gadgets. The wide receiver screen, and then having him on the jet sweep. Over his career, 6.5+ years in the NFL, he's run the ball almost 120 times. So you have to be very careful.
Yeah, he was a running back / receiver coming out of Ohio State. So he was a guy that did both, and he's kept that up through his entire career in the NFL.
All right. Well, that'll do it for Above the Numbers this week. Let's go back to Bob.
Carl, there's a lot to digest here. You know, Gunnar Olszewski, since he's come to the Giants, is averaging almost 10 yards a punt return when he gets an opportunity. And Paris Campbell had some nice kickoff returns. The Giants need a play at some point, special teams-wise, to flip field position a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's complimentary football. You've got to be able to get yourself in position with 2 first downs to be on the range of a field goal. That's what your goal should be when you have returners, right? Get it to the 20, 25-yard line, get a couple big first downs, and then you're operating at midfield.
And then the other thing is, McLaurin's going to get some of his. Dotson's a good player, but then you can't let Curtis Samuel or De'Ami Brown, who had another explosive play against Seattle, be guys that make these explosives too. Yeah, I mean, look, you got to contain, and it's a tall order, Bob, coming off of a defeat like this team did. It appears to the outside they got so much to fix. But they've got to start, I think up front and then to the outside. They have injuries that they'll have to overcome. When we come back, we're going to take a look at the Giants and Washington and the rivalry, including a very important game for Big Blue going back to 2007. All that and more here on the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford. Welcome back to the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford. On Sunday, it's the Giants and Commanders in Washington. Now, the Giants have had some very defining wins going against Washington on the road, whether it was Carl's 1986 Giants locking up the NFC East, Big Blue clinching a playoff spot in 2006, or that famous game to jumpstart the 2007 season for the Giants. Here's a look back at the Giants-Washington rivalry on the road for Big Blue. The Giants-Washington rivalry is one of the oldest in the NFL, and there have been so many classic battles and moments along the way. And some of New York's most memorable victories have come on Washington's home field.
This is my favorite spot in the NFL, playing in Washington, because we knew we were getting ready to walk in that dugout, and all those fans would be hanging over, and they were awesome. And one day I'm walking down that dugout, Parcells looked at me and goes, "You ready?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm ready, Coach." He goes, "You know, Sims, they hate us so much here, they like us." I went, "Gotcha." Made sense to me.
In Week 14 of the 1986 season, the Giants traveled to the not-so-friendly confines of RFK Stadium. Hall of Fame linebacker Lawrence Taylor put on one of the most dominating performances of his career. Taylor terrorized Washington quarterback Jay Schrader, recording 3 sacks, and almost single-handedly destroyed Washington's offense.
Right here, it looks like he just shot out of a cannon. Whoom.
Lawrence Taylor gets his 3rd sack.
And Giants quarterback Phil Simms also found his comfort zone on the road, throwing for 3 touchdowns in a 24-14 victory. In 2006, New York entered the final game of the regular season, having lost 6 of their last 7 contests, and were on the verge of missing the playoffs. Desperately needing a victory against their bitter rival, the Giants turned to running back Tiki Barber, who delivered a performance for the ages.
1st and 10 for the 45. Draw for Barber, squeaks left. Tiki runs out of a tackle. Tiki across midfield. Tiki to the 30. He needs a block to score. 10, 5, touchdown Tiki Barber! 55 yards. Tiki's got 2 and the Giants widen their lead.
Tiki rushed for a franchise record 234 yards and 3 touchdowns, leading the team to a 34-28 victory and into the postseason.
2nd and 5 from midfield. Hand off Barber. Runs right. Finds his way through a hole. To the 40. 35-30. Barber to the 20. Being chased from behind to the 10, to the 5. Touchdown! Tiki Barber!
Over 200.
50 yards! His second 50-plus run tonight.
After a rocky start, losing their first 2 games of the 2007 season, the Giants headed to Washington, desperately needing a win against their division rivals.
Go into Washington that 3rd game, we're down at halftime, but in the second half we get some big plays.
Manning takes the snap, blitzes on, he throws it left, he's got Burris, makes his man miss, cuts right to the 20, to the 15.
Plaxico catches a little slant for a touchdown, we take the lead.
To the 10, to the 5, touchdown, Plaxico Burris! The Giants have come back from a 17-3 halftime deficit, and they now have a 24-17 lead.
Clinging to a 7-point lead late in the game, with Washington threatening to score, the Giants' defense would be put to the ultimate test, a goal line stand.
Do your assignment. Everybody lock in. I remember everybody just saying, just do your job, right? That's a TC type quote, right? Do your job. And that play came down to that simple.
Takes the snap, handoff left for Bassett. He's tripped up and stopped short. Giants stopped him on 4th and goal, and they're going to win the ball game.
The Giants may have saved their season with a stirring victory against their NFC East rivals.
That dramatic victory was the turning point in the Giants' season, and New York went on to win its 3rd Super Bowl championship. In 2014, the Giants headed to the nation's capital for a Thursday night matchup with Washington. Quarterback Eli Manning threw for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, 3 of them to tight end Larry Donnell.
Manning back to throw into the end zone, and a leaping catch is made for the touchdown. It's Larry Donnell again. Manning back to throw. He lobs one right for Donnell, who makes the catch for the touchdown. Larry Donnell with 3 touchdown catches. It is over. A 45-14 win here at FedEx Field.
And in 2019, Daniel Jones delivered the dagger with a thrilling game-winning touchdown drive in overtime.
Takes the snap, he's back to throw. Fires one right, touchdown Giants! Peyton Smith, and they win it in overtime! Jones' 5th touchdown pass of the ball game, and the Giants are victorious.
Carl, when you think about the Giants in Washington, there's so many great games, but 1986, you had beaten Washington on Monday Night Football in Giants Stadium, and you knew that you win this game, you win the NFC East. What was kind of the thought process going into the game and dealing with Washington on the road?
Well, number one, going there was always tough. But, you know, it was no secret their strength were the Hogs in the run game. Our strength was stopping the run. So we knew that if we could take that aspect away, we were pulling their heart and soul. And that was our goal. Joe Gibbs, great coach. Bill Parcells, great coach. It was a battle of all of those things, but we knew it really came down to how we would play their run game. We could dictate the rest of the game.
Big Blue Wrecking Crew got the best of the Hogs a lot of times, including that day in 1986. When we come back on the program, 3 things and keys for the Giants in Washington when we return to the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford. Welcome back to the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford. Yes, the Giants in Washington on Sunday are another installment of this great rivalry. Here's Madeline Burke with 3 things.
It's week 11 and the Giants are headed to Washington to face the Commanders. I'm Madeline Burke with 3 things you need to know. Washington quarterback Sam Howell currently leads the NFL in passing yards. And in the 3 games since these 2 teams have last met, the Commanders have had at least 356 yards of total offense and scored 76 points over that span. Now, the last time the Giants and Commanders faced each other was at MetLife in Week 7. The Giants defense had 6 sacks and an interception on Howell, who's the most sacked and hit quarterback in the NFL. However, in the 3 games since then, he's only been sacked 7 times. And the Giants have played Washington 183 times, more than any other team. New York leads the series 107, 71, and 5, and the Giants have won the last 2 matchups between these teams. That's a wrap for 3 things that you need to know for Week 11. Let's send it back to Bob.
Now it's time to take a look at the keys here for the Giants in Washington. We went through some of it in strategy with the coaches tape. And Carl, I know we say this all the time, but coming off the scars of last week's game, you know, a better start is almost imperative here, to not allow Washington to jump on top early.
Well, yeah, Bob, and here's the key. Communication, both sides of the football. Every time you see big plays, it doesn't matter at what level, there's a communications breakdown. This Giant team, both sides of the ball, have got to be good communicators so that at least they can execute assignments. Whether or not they're good enough is one thing, but blown assignments are what gets, you know, the big plays on the board. So they have to make sure that communication is priority number 1.
Yeah, and then I think the utilization of Saquon Barkley. He's had a lot of big games against Washington, especially in Washington, but, you know, feed him the ball and allow him to sort of help carry you like he did in that game against the Jets, where he's not only an inspiration, but he's production, setting you up for an easy throw here or there.
Well, yeah, and again, Bob, the offensive line, everybody has to be on it. Give Saquon Barkley a chance. And that means you've got to know what your assignments are and execute that.
And one of the things we've seen from Washington, if they fall behind in the game, we've seen them come back. We've also seen them over the last few weeks have a lead in the game and allow the other team to get back into the game. So you got to be ready for 60 minutes in this thing, because they're both flawed teams. Washington's below 500.
Yeah.
It's not like they're 8-2 right now. Right. Take advantage of those moments.
Yeah, and here's the key to that. Sam Howell, McCurlin are 2 guys that they connect at whatever point in the game. So you cannot relax if you have a lead, and you certainly can't relax if you're behind, because they can increase the lead or they can decrease the deficit.
Yeah,
those 2 guys alone.
And Howell does not play tentatively.
No.
I mean, even though he's a young player, he will take some chances.
Absolutely.
And throw the football. The Giants have to get him to the ground when they get a chance. This week's game against Washington is brought to you by Ticketmaster, the official marketplace of the New York Giants and the NFL. Make sure after the game you check out MSG Giants Post Game Live. For Carl Banks, Coach Daboll, and the entire crew, I'm Bob Papa. Thanks for joining us for this edition of the Coach Daboll Show, presented by Ford.